I remember the day of my crash very well. Shortly after graduation from high school, I was coming home from a girlfriend's house, a trip that I had done numerous times. I fell asleep at the wheel. I had stayed up all night the night before. Where I lived was about 30 miles away, and I thought I was fine. I was wide awake when I dropped her off at her house, and driving home I fell asleep just a mile from home. So I figured a few more minutes I could make it. I'm almost home, and I didn't make it. I crossed the center line, hit a driveway embankment, and flipped my car. Wasn't wearing a seatbelt and was thrown through the sunroof. I landed on the highway. In one instant, all my hopes and dreams that I spent 18 years building were gone. None of it included a wheelchair. I remember laying in the hospital bed in intensive care, and a nurse standing over me telling me that I would never walk again, and how my life was going to be changed, the things that I was no longer going to be able to do. I had to learn how to get dressed. I had to learn how to get in and out of my chair, how to bathe myself. I had to learn how to get around in public, how to go shopping, how to cook. Everything that I had been doing my whole life, I had to learn all over of how to do from a wheelchair. And thinking back, I remember lots of warning signs. I remember dozing off numerous times. I remember getting to my girlfriend's house that morning and falling asleep on her couch while she was getting ready. I remember falling asleep at my grandmother's house that evening before I took her home. I had all these warning signs and ignored them all because, sure, I've nodded off before, but nothing ever happened. I wasn't doing anything illegal. There's no law against drowsy driving. And it's something that I've done numerous times before, so why would this time be any different? I was just 90 seconds from home and thought I could stay awake for 90 seconds, and I didn't make it. And because of that, my life has changed forever. And now what I want to do is use my experience, use what happened to me, share my story with other people so they won't make the same mistake I did. You cannot change your past, but you can change your future. Regret is the heaviest burden that you will ever bear. I know, because I bear it every day.
The body is most susceptible to sleep at two periods, between midnight and 6 in the morning and in the middle of the afternoon. The one that's less well known is the one in the middle of the afternoon, which is the one that affected me. I got sleepy, and I knew I was sleepy, but all my life I've been driving. You get sleepy, you get through it. It's that belief that you're going to get through it that kills.
According to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, at least 100,000 police-reported crashes each year are the direct result of driver fatigue, resulting in an estimated 71,000 injuries and 1,500 deaths.
You think you're going to get through it this time and there's no problem. It'll pass. But there are these times when it doesn't, and the consequences can be horrific.
Tom Callaghy, a college professor, knows all too well the dangers of drowsy driving. He and his wife of 33 years were driving back to their home in Pennsylvania. Tom dozed off at the wheel just for an instant and drove into the trees. His wife died in the crash.
Janie was asleep in the front seat, and I didn't want to wake her up. She was tired and happy, and we were on our way home, and I should have, but I didn't. It had been sort of gray overcast all day and drizzle, and the road was gray and the water was gray and the trees were gray because there were no leaves on them. The road was straight. There's a profile for these kind of accidents, and all of these conditions fit this type of accident, something I didn't know at the time. And it was the middle of the afternoon in terms of the body rhythm dip. I did all the normal things one does when one gets sleepy while driving. I turned on the radio, I opened the window, those kinds of things. And I was just about at the point where I realized I should stop. And I'd actually sort of started to reach over to wake her up. And it was too late.
Tom believes he fell asleep for just a few seconds, something that happens to most people.
We call those microsleeps. And that microsleep, which could be a second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, literally they're disconnected.
But if you are traveling 65 miles an hour in just 3 seconds, you've traveled the length of a football field.
I wasn't speeding, I hadn't been drinking, there was no medication, substance abuse, anything. I just fell asleep. And the car went off the road, sideswiped a bunch of trees, and then finally hit one, and she died instantly.
Crashes like Tom Callaghan's can be prevented. If you're tired, don't drive. And know the signs that you might be falling asleep behind the wheel. They include difficulty focusing, burning eyes or yawning repeatedly, trouble remembering the last few miles driven, feeling restless and irritable, tailgating, missing traffic signs or exits, or hitting rumble strips.
You must absolutely act as soon as you think that you're getting sleepy. You stop, take a nap, you drink some coffee or anything else with caffeine in it. Actually, soft drinks are preferable because you have a definite amount of caffeine in them. Coffee varies enormously. Change drivers, walk around, whatever. But you must absolutely act. If I'd known then what I know now, it simply wouldn't have happened. Janie would still be here, but she's not.
She had probably had maybe 3 or 4 hours of sleep in the previous 40 hours or so. And she admitted she was very tired. She was aware that she was nodding off behind the wheel, and she thought that she could get home before she fell asleep. And the consequences were disastrous. It was the middle of the afternoon and a bright, sunny day. My son Kevin was riding his bicycle. He was on the shoulder of the road coming home from having played tennis with his friends. She had been working all night and most of the previous day, and she nodded off just long enough to veer off the road. His head hit the windshield of her car, and he was thrown about 15 or 20 feet from the car into some bushes off the side of the road. When she realized that she had hit something, she stopped the car, and she thought that she had hit a mailbox or a tree, and then she sped away. My wife and I left the house to go do some shopping and drove up on the scene of the accident. And I realized that it involved Kevin when I saw his bicycle by the side of the road. They informed us that he had suffered a very serious head injury. And on Monday, a day and a half later, we were told that he was effectively brain dead. We removed him from life support later that afternoon.
Kevin Mackey. First of all, I want to graduate from a good college and become a professional soccer player.
He was the youngest of 4. He had 3 older sisters. They really loved him, and they doted on him. He was very bright, very precocious, just a very typical boy, and I loved him very much. The woman who was responsible for hitting him returned when she was able to admit to herself what she had done and turned herself in. There was a trial. She was charged with 3 misdemeanor counts because she wasn't drunk, she wasn't speeding, and by law, her negligence was not considered to be as serious as if she had been drinking. She got 6 months work release, jail time, and she was fined $1,000 or so. Her mistake was in not recognizing that she was tired and that she was impaired. Just prior to the sentencing hearing, my wife gave her a picture of Kevin as a reminder of what we had lost and what Kevin had lost. Kevin lost his life, and she was responsible for it, and she's going to have to live with that for the rest of her life.
Maggie was the baby in the family. She was everybody's baby.
This is the road where the fight against sleepy drivers was born. This is the road where 20-year-old Maggie McDonald was killed in a head-on collision. Her mother mourned, and then she started a movement to change the law.
She was life at the party. As she was 3 years old, she was dancing on the coffee table. She loved to show off. And then as she got older, she was beautiful and sexy, and she knew how to play the room. She turned all eyes when she walked by you.
A driver swerved across a New Jersey highway and slammed head-on into her car. Remarkably, the driver who killed Maggie got off with a $200 fine.
She was 20 years old. She was in college with hopes to be a social worker. She was Daddy's little girl.
You can never forget that pain that you feel every day and the loss. My father has just, he'll never recover. It was horrible to see your father just sob and cry. He identified her body, and he'll never, ever recover from that. I was told that, she died from massive injuries, and you just can't get that out of your head.
My husband had a stroke after he identified her body. My children lost their baby sister. Her boyfriend lost the love of his life. Her friends were devastated. All her friends and her boyfriend's families, it affects everyone. No one's life is the same after this.
New Jersey now has a law that makes driving while sleep deprived a crime in fatal accidents. The law is named for Carol McDonald's daughter, Maggie.
The man that killed Maggie, he was impaired, and he fell asleep at the wheel. And there's no law in the state of New Jersey stating you can't do this. As the defense attorney hammered to the jury over and over. There's no law stating you can't sleep and drive. I decided to change the law.
After the second trial, we were devastated, and at that point, we had given up close to 4 years of our lives, and my mom was having a really hard time, and She then decided to go speak with a politician because we just knew that this man had not been punished for what he had done.
He admitted in court that he knew he was too tired to drive, which is not acceptable to me.
We now have Maggie's Law.
It took 3.5 years, but she was able to get this law passed.
New Jersey State Senator Stephen Sweeney wrote Maggie's Law.
You can go to jail for up to 10 years, $150,000 fine. It's much more severe than just getting a DUI.
And Maggie's Law may soon be a federal statute to combat what's become a national epidemic.
Today with this law, God willing, we move forward to correct this injustice, not only in New Jersey, but set a benchmark throughout the nation.
Like I said, not guilty doesn't mean innocent. He broke every rule in the book, but he didn't break the law because there wasn't a law. But there is now, and it's Maggie's Law.
It's devastating to have your child killed. It destroys your life. You're never the same person. If you're too tired to drive, you're an impaired driver. Impaired drivers kill people. Get off of the road, pull over, take a rest, or don't even get behind the wheel. Just because you're tired doesn't give you the right to kill someone.